You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Hello and welcome to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Thanks for being here as always. Let's talk about leveraging other people's money, OPM for short. This is something that the wealthy have been doing to create wealth that they would otherwise not be able to create. They've been doing this for generations. Today, I'm going to be highlighting some information from Robert Kiyosaki. Maybe you've read some of his books, maybe not. I've only read one of his books. It was Second Chance, and I really liked it. Something you might want to pick up. It had a lot of great information. I actually don't know. I feel like maybe he has come across whole life and the uses of it and how it plays into how he already thinks about money and how he utilizes money and leverages money right now. I don't remember, though, if he's come across that or the details around that. I think that he has, but I can't be sure. So when I read Second Chance, it wasn't talking about whole life insurance in any way. It was just talks in there's a lot of similarities to how Nelson Nash would teach and just how we believe as IBC practitioners. One of the things that he would say is how traditional schooling often neglects financial education. I think any of us would agree that there's almost no financial education in schools today. Like they don't want to teach this to children and help us to understand. They don't want the masses to know how money works. So Kiyosaki he's a big believer in leveraging other people's money. And by doing so, he was able to make money using other people's money and transitioned into the business owner and investor that he is today. Although he does make a distinction between good debt versus bad debt, because there certainly is a difference. And so he does make that distinction. Leveraging other people's money can be a powerful strategy and is often a key strategy for the wealthy when they are trying to build their wealth. Basically, you are just acquiring funds from external sources from other places rather than only just using your savings to get ahead. So I'm just going to go over a list of some different places that you could go if you're looking for external sources for money to help you in your investing. This is really for investing in real estate or a business, your business, a business idea that you have. So first of all, we have angel investors. These investors are oftentimes just wealthy people who have a good income, have a high net worth, or more often than not, are successful entrepreneurs who want to fund startups or projects that they believe in, that they see promise in, that they want to be a part of. There are also venture capitalists who are firms that will raise money from institutions or wealthy people and pool that money together to be able to invest in startup businesses. So those are two of the ways that you could acquire other people's money to get your project moving forward. There's also more traditional financing, such as borrowing against your house, mortgages, home equity loans, just borrowing against property, or acquiring a mortgage to purchase property, your home or rental properties, vacation rentals, flips. These are all well-known ways to utilize other people's money by acquiring a mortgage to be able to make those purchases. Certainly you would be able to purchase more than if you're just saving up for that one home purchase. I know that Robert Kiyosaki used down payments to purchase many different properties. And so if you have enough money, maybe you have $100,000 And rather than putting that down on just one home, you could put that down on more than one piece of property, and then you have more than one asset. And then having renters there or a way to get cash flow off of that property, now you have someone else helping you pay off that property. And so that is good debt, and one of the most common and well-known ways to borrow the bank's money to be able to grow your assets. Another way would be a conventional bank loan. These might be harder to get, but you could get a secured loan, which is going to require collateral, such as your property or vehicles. And this will allow you to borrow against those items to get a loan for something you may want to invest in or your business. There are also unsecured loans, which are dependent on your credit worthiness. Also sometimes can be harder to get, especially when you need it. When you really need that loan, that's when you're going to have a really hard time acquiring that loan. Of course, there are also credit cards, which are usually used not very well or to acquire bad debt or to rack up bad debt, maybe I should say. But if used properly, it could be something that's good. If you are allocating those funds into something that is going to be cash flowing, and then you can turn around and pay off that credit card debt. There are also lending networks that connect people with individual lenders, these platforms such as Lending Club or Upstart. There's a few of them out there. You may have heard of them before that are just personal loans. These platforms connect creditworthy individuals directly with investors. And then, of course, there are private money loans where people are borrowing from private individuals or companies. And oftentimes these are higher interest rates, but they may have more flexible terms. Of course, then we come to my favorite, borrowing against whole life. Leveraging your whole life policy by borrowing against it is just another way to utilize other people's money. You're borrowing the insurance company's money, and that comes in handy, like I mentioned earlier, when you're somebody that might be trying to acquire an unsecured loan or even a bank loan, even with collateral. When I had my restaurants back in the day, and I had tried to get a loan from a bank, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you haven't been in business long enough. We can't loan you any money." And when we were just starting off, of course, that's when we really, really needed that money. So they said, "You have to be in business 2 years before we will consider loaning you any money." And so 2 years, basically to the day, I showed up again and asked, "Hey, it's been 2 years. Can you loan me some money now?" And they just said, "Oh, sorry, no. You know what? We're not loaning to restaurants right now. So we're not even going to look at it." And it was very frustrating because they said, "Give us 2 years and then come back and we'll help you out." And then they did not. And so had I had built up my own asset of life insurance, I would have been able to borrow against that for the things we needed for our business in a much better way because of all of the flexibility that comes with borrowing against a whole life policy. Building the asset of life insurance and equity in a whole life policy is one of the best ways to borrow using other people's money because it allows your dollars to be doing more than one thing inside of your policy. Your dollars are protecting you, protecting your family, growing on a guaranteed basis. You're able to earn dividends inside this policy, access the money in the future or access the growth, income tax free, provide protection for critical or chronic or terminal illness. There's just a lot more going on, and your money is able to continue working for you while you are utilizing or leveraging that policy to do other things, to build wealth in other ways. And at the same time, your money inside of the policy is cash flowing for you as well. Once it kind of gets rocking and rolling, it will be creating cash flow for you inside of the policy. So now you have that working for you and whatever other investment that you are utilizing and borrowing against that policy for. Kiyosaki says, learning how to leverage other people's money is only doing what the rich have done all along, using other people's wallets to build your own fortune, one investment at a time. He says that when financial experts say get out of debt, they handicap people because they take away a lot of leverage. Now, certainly if you have bad debt or credit card debt or just debt for things you've purchased that aren't cash flowing for you or aren't investments for you, well, that's not a bad thing to get out of. Now, he's talking about debt overall or good debt. Without debt, he says, a person is unable to do more with less. Kiyosaki believes in keeping your money moving, which was fun to read in the book Second Chance, because that is exactly what Nelson Nash preached, and also those of us who are teaching the infinite banking concept. In his book, he calls savers losers because of the fact that a lot of times people are just accumulating money and letting it sit there, and it's not doing anything, it's not really earning anything, rather than keeping the money in motion and working for you to create more wealth, using that money to go out and purchase other things. Again, one of my favorite things about utilizing whole life to build wealth in is because since you can access that money for things, investments or other things you need, you are able to save more. And then you're able to put more money into the policy that you technically, yes, you're saving the money in there, but then we're encouraging you to flow it for things that you need and keep the money moving. The best way is to purchase investments or other things that can become cash flowing for you. But ultimately, the more money that you put through the policy, the more money you are capturing the earning power of for the rest of your life. And then you are able to utilize that money for whatever needs you have that come up in life. Your business, your investments, your children's college, your own retirement, home improvements, whatever it may be. I wanted to wrap up today with a quote from Kiyosaki's book, Second Chance. He says, "Bad debt makes the poor and middle class poorer. Bad debt is debt you are paying for yourself. Good debt makes the rich richer. Good debt is debt that someone else pays off for you." Financial education is learning how to harness the power of debt because today, debt is money. He's referring to how President Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard after 1971, and our money became notes, Federal Reserve notes, which are basically IOUs. I will add in as well that debt inside of a life insurance policy, to me, is good debt in general because it is working for you. It is doing more than one thing for you. It is backed by your own money. So it's not actually just debt to some outside bank. It's backed by your own money. It's doing more for you. You can eliminate that debt if you needed to, but it's also earning for you for the rest of your life and snowballing that earnings throughout your life. And so it's a cash flowing asset. So I definitely think that debt inside of a whole life policy is good debt. Well, thank you for listening in. If you would like to work together to begin leveraging the asset of life insurance by building up equity in a policy that you can borrow against and keep your money in motion, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at Valerie@alphaomegawealth.com. I look forward to connecting with you, and I will speak to you all again next week. Take care.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.